Bueno, muy buenos días a todas las personas que se empiezan a unir a nuestra sesión informativa. Mucho gusto, mi nombre es Karen Martínez, parte del equipo de Relaciones Internacionales en Colfuturo y está justamente en desarrollo este mes de octubre en el que tendremos muchísimos webinars informativos con universidades de convenio ubicadas en la Unión Europea, Suiza, Suecia, Finlandia y Francia. Así que todos están invitadísimos a registrarse y a conectarse en todos estos espacios con nosotros. El día de hoy estamos con Chalmers University of Technology y el día de hoy también nos acompaña en esta ocasión Avilash y Andrés. Ellos representarán la Universidad de Chalmers en Suecia y nos hablarán de una gran variedad de temas relacionados con oferta académica, recomendaciones en cuanto a hospedaje, etcétera. Entonces, la idea es que todos podamos aquí exponer nuestras inquietudes, nuestras preguntas más frecuentes y ellos con muchísimo gusto nos ayudarán a resolverlas. Adicionalmente, les quiero recordar a todos que Colfuturo tiene justamente un convenio con esta universidad y está caracterizado por ofrecer un 25% de descuento en el valor de la matrícula, un curso de sueco de 6 meses y el valor del Student Union Membership Fee para 2 beneficiarios de Colfuturo. Así que les recuerdo, por favor, pónganos sin duda alguna todas las inquietudes y preguntas en el cajón de Q&A y las estaremos resolviendo a lo largo de la sesión. Sin mayor preámbulo, Adela Chandras, thank you so much for being here. We are so happy to have you with us, so you can go ahead and start with your presentation.
Muchas gracias. Okay, so I'm going to use Google Translate here. Hola, mi nombre es Avilash y trabajo en la Universidad de Tecnología Chalmers en Suecia, no Suiza, Suecia. Mi español no es muy bueno, pero me gustaría aprovechar esta oportunidad para leer este mensaje que escribí a través de Google Translate, traductor. Me complace presentarles a Chalmers y nuestra alianza con Colfuturo. Gracias por acompañarnos y ahora pasaré al inglés. I managed. All right, let's get this started. I'm going to be presenting Chalmers to you, as I said. So, what does Chalmers University of Technology stand for? We stand for... Yeah.
In the screen, we are seeing your notes. That's perfect.
My notes. Oh, interesting. Yeah, very nice. Interesting. Let me see if I can change that to screen 1. Ta-da! Does that work?
Yeah, that's
right. So Chalmers University of Technology, what do we stand for? We stand for making the world a better place, but through science and technology and for a sustainable future. So what we want to do is to make sure that whatever we teach has some aspect of sustainability in it, some aspect of curiosity in it, so that you are always a person who is trying to ask the right questions and then figure out the answers for those questions. And these questions are usually about problems that humanity is facing, whether that is in the construction sector or in the automotive sector or in the health sector or the IT sector. It could be space, it could be anything else that you can think of. The questions that you ask and the answers you create out of those questions will be what makes the world a better place. And that is what we want for you. So today's presentation is going to be about how can you get to that kind of a future, the future where you have attained the ability to look at the world in a critical manner, ask these creative questions, and produce progressive answers, right? So that's basically what we want to do. So in order to do this, you will obviously need to apply to Chalmers University of Technology. You will need to make an application for a master's program. You will need to study at our university and graduate. So let's start with how the application process and that timeline looks like. So this is the perfect time to make an application in less than, what is today, the 10th. So in 5 days, the application period opens. On the 15th of October, our application period opens. And it closes on the 15th of January, which means that you have 3 months to make and edit an application. My recommendation to you is to make an application as early as possible. The closer to this date you make an application, the more time you have to be able to fix any problems with it. The more you wait and the closer it gets to this date, the less time you have to fix any problems with it. People will always think in terms of, oh, but it's 3 months. But in effect, it's actually much less than that. Remember that close to this date, you have New Year's and Christmas. You also have a whole bunch of other holidays that come in between here and weekends. So if you think about how bureaucratic systems can be and how much time certain things can take, this amount of time is usually not enough. Some people will start very close to this date and never finish their application in time to be able to be evaluated. So my recommendation to you is keep to this date, as close to this date as possible, right? Make a complete application as possible. And in order to make an application, you would go to our program list, find a program that, or more than one, you can choose up to 4 programs. So you can find up to 4 programs that you find interesting, and then you'll go to this website and make an application. You can also click on the apply button that you will see on each program page after the 15th of October. So you'll do that. It will take you automatically to this page, and there you can choose up to 4 programs. You'll create an account, and then you will finish your application by submitting documents and paying this fee. The deadline for documentation and fee is the 3rd of February. What does that actually mean? It means that between these dates, you only need to choose those 4 programs, actually. And then you have 2 weeks to be able to submit. But you can do that also here. So you don't have to wait for this period to make the application. This is just to give the period. So imagine that you're a person that made an application on the 15th of January and you don't have all the documentations with you. Then we need to give you a little bit of grace period to submit your documents and your application fee. That is why this delay exists. Otherwise, these 2 dates would have been the same. So my recommendation to you, make a full application as close to this date as possible. Both the 4 programs and the documentation and the fees. Finish it closest to this date as possible and you are done with it. And if there is any mistake in your application, any problem with your application, you have the time then to be able to fix it. The closer you get to this date, the lesser time you have. Once you make an application, your results will come out in March. And the results will be published on this website. So on the same profile that you created, you will also receive your results. In the end of April, May will be when, that is actually a mistake. This is payment of tuition fees, right? So it's supposed to be payment of tuition fees that was supposed to be there. That was my mistake. Let's fix that really quickly. Pay fees. Ta-da! So we pay fees by this date. And then here we have residence permit. That is your application to the Swedish Migration Agency has to be made by this date. Later than this date, you will not be accepted for the residence permit. And then by August, September, you will come to Chalmers and you will have your fun time with the orientation, and then your studies will also start, and then you're off to the races. So that's how that looks as far as your application is concerned. And if you have any questions regarding this, please hold on to them and we can take them at the very end, right? Next, let's talk a little bit about the university itself. So now that you kind of understood the process and we've gotten that boring, let's say, key dates part of it out of the way, let's talk about a little more fun stuff and why you should choose Chalmers, right? Why you should think about Chalmers as a university. And this is, of course, from my perspective. I work at this university. I've also studied here a long time ago, but then Andres is here, and Andres just recently finished his studies and started working in Sweden. So we'll hear from you as well in a minute. Chalmers was founded in 1829. So it's a rather old university. In about 4 years, we will be 200 years old. We have all of our master's programs are 2-year programs. They are all taught in English. There's one program that is taught in Swedish. Every other program is taught in English. The university consists of both Swedish students and international students. So your classroom is a mixture of Swedish and international students from around the world. There are about 2,600 master students, but the total population of the university is about 10,000. So this means that in your case, you're not going to a very large university, but it is large enough, right? You are guaranteed housing. That is for sure, right? Since you are fee-paying students, you will be guaranteed housing. So even if you have a scholarship, you are guaranteed housing. However, Those students who come to us with European passports, EU passports, they are not guaranteed housing. So you are a non-EU EEA citizen and you are applying as a non-EU EEA citizen, which means that you are guaranteed housing. We are well ranked. This is the world ranking for the total universe on the general university list. However, if you look at Chalmers and you look at the subject specific rankings, we are even top 50 in some cases. So we are a very, very strongly positioned university when it comes to our subject areas. The world ranking does not necessarily only look at subject areas, it looks at other things also, which is why we tend to fall further down in the list. In your tuition fees, a 6 months Swedish lesson is also included. So you are able to study Swedish through this lesson. There are some changes being made to this system, and that may or may not affect you in a good way. But that is something we can, of course, inform you in advance so that you know what you are getting into. My recommendation to you is take every opportunity you can to learn Swedish, because when you finish studying, you will go out to find work, and at that point in time, Swedish will become necessary. So studying at Chalmers and living in Sweden or in Gothenburg is not a problem with just English. You will survive beautifully, absolutely no problem, because everybody speaks English, both in the city and at the university. Everybody speaks English, but when it comes to work, it will become important that you can speak Swedish, and that's why we give you this lesson. But if you can start all, and there are about 1,000 exchange students. Where are we located? We're on the west coast of Sweden. We're on the west coast of Sweden. We have the second largest city in Sweden, and that is named Gothenburg. About 1 million people. And then you can think Bogota has about 10 times more people than Gothenburg does, right? It's really Medellin and Bogota, and it's like the city doesn't end. You can go up the funicular in Medellin, and the city doesn't end. It's all the way to the horizon. It's just continuing. Gothenburg is not like that. So you are not going to a very large city by that standard, by a Colombian standard, but you are going to a large city by a Swedish standard. And what that means for you is that it will feel small at times, but it's also a big city at other times. What does that mean? That means that you have all the necessities, sorry, all the facilities a big city would have. For example, you would have cinemas, nightclubs, opera, libraries, parks, forests, you can name it, it's all there. We even have our own archipelago. So there are lots of islands off the coast of Gothenburg that you can take the public transport to. So your public transport ticket includes buses, trams, and boats and ferries. So they can take you wherever you want to go, out into the sea, so to speak. It's a very international and lively culture. Lots of big companies are located here, and in fact have their head offices here, and their innovation centers are here, and they all work with Chalmers. So you have a good future ahead of you if you simply play your cards correctly. And for that, you need to be here and understand how things work. So that first semester that you are here will be the time when you kind of figure this out. What works? How should I behave? Which people should I talk to? How do I build my network? So on and so forth. And that will result in that good future that you are looking for. We are a home for engineers, architects, planners, entrepreneurs, scientists, tech enthusiasts. If you have a science or an engineering background or an architecture background, we want you. We want you here because we want to not only have the smart people here, we want to have diversity here. We want you to enrich Swedish society. Sometimes it's going to be easy for you to do it. Sometimes it's going to be hard for you to do it. And that will be a result of economy. That will be a result of political environments. That will be a result of you having good grades or not. There will be a lot of different factors that go into whether you will manage to do that. Regardless, there is the opportunity. The opportunity exists. And that means it's a question of positioning yourself in order to take advantage of the opportunity. And how would you do that? You would choose 1 to 4 out of the 38 master's programs we have in your application. And those 38 programs fall into these 13 different areas that we have. These are not departments or anything like that. These are just simply groupings, logical groupings of programs. Andres here studied mobility engineering. And that falls under number 10, mechanical and industrial design engineering. That's where that group includes the mobility engineering program. But if you were interested in AI, you would be looking at information engineering or computer engineering. If you're interested in architecture, obviously you're going there. If you're interested in, let's say, biomedical engineering or mathematics or physics, mathematics and physics would go here, biomedical engineering would go into electrical engineering. So there are all of these different programs that we have that fall into these different areas, right? What would be the entry requirements? This is the most important point here. Each program has its own specific entry requirements, which means that you have to be checking the page of that program to see what the specific entry requirements are. Once again, in the case of mobility engineering, there would be a lot of requirements around things like control theory or around being able to understand, I don't know, a certain type of amount of mathematics or physics for that matter. There would be all of these different kinds of topics that are required. And we want you to prove that you have those topics through your syllabus, which is what you would submit as part of your documentation. So you have to prove English, of course. And English will be proven through an IELTS or a TOEFL or a Pearson or a Cambridge test. And there will be requirements of 6.5 and no section below 5.5 for IELTS, or a 90 with a minimum of 20 for writing on the TOEFL, and similar requirements on Pearson and Cambridge. So you can check those. And then you will have to submit certain things like a degree certificate, a transcript of records. But maybe you haven't graduated. Maybe you are still in your final year of studies. And if you are, then that's okay. You can still submit the number of semesters you have, which is usually around 6 out of, let's say, 8 if you're studying a 4-year degree. In your case, it's 5 years. It's a 5-year degree. In that case, you will submit 8 semester certificates rather than 10, right? So you will submit those 8 transcripts, and then we will be able to go with checking those credits, and then you will submit a certificate and things like that. So there will be a lot of different things, but there's no point in getting into those details right now. Those details are too much to go through, and they are all on the website chalmers.sc/requirements. So if you go there, you will see those requirements that are the documentation stuff. Then you can, of course, check also the specific entry requirements for each program that you're interested in. So what does the university look like, and what facilities does it offer you? Well, to start with, we have actually 3 campuses. However, we are moving things from one of the campuses back to one of the other campuses. So we are sitting in the campus which will collect all the education into this one. So the second campus is going to stop being a place where you have classes eventually. So by 2026, it will stop being a place where classes will be not held. Here is where all classes will be held. With that said, the third campus is the one that you're seeing up here. It's the research center where we have our own space observatory and things like that, which is connected to the national grid and the international grid of observatories. So this observatory and its researchers were in some way involved in the 2020 imaging of the black hole. But when the first image of a black hole was produced, our researchers were involved in that project. We also have our own clean room. So that means that those of you that are interested in nanotechnology or embedded systems or material science and things like that at the nanoscale, right? Like, so building things at the nanoscale or at the microscopic scale, you can do that. We have our own clean room, and it's a rather large space. It's both class 1000 and class 10,000 for those of you that understand that. There are architecture and civil engineering workshops. There is a 2,000 square meter space called Fuse, which brings together different kinds of technologies into one space, so you can actually study different divisions or institutions and departments at Chalmers actually meet inside Fuse, because it's an interdisciplinary space where you can actually build your own projects and your own you can do your own research. So that means that you can bring sports science and electronics together, or you can bring material science that meets biomedical engineering, or batteries meeting I don't know, pick anything you want, mobility for that matter. So if you're looking at any kind of interdisciplinary area, that is where you can do that. You will have access to 3D printers, you will have access to sandblasting machines, and you will have access to welding material, woodworking, metalworking, all kinds of textile engineering, simulation spaces, so on and so forth. So it's a rather large space, 2,000 square meters of space that allows you to combine different kinds of technologies. So there's a lot of different kinds of facilities on campus that allow you to fully express your version of being an engineer or a technologist or a scientist or an architect. We also help you with career-related questions through career fairs that happen on campus. There is a career counselor who can give you help with those kinds of things as well. There are people that can support you with English and writing, people that can take care of but we offer you healthcare support. You are insured by Chalmers, so you don't need to get a medical insurance. We are insured by Chalmers with a student insurance. You will need a home insurance that is separate, but when your health is concerned, there will be a lot of entertainment possibilities and things like that. So that's also taken care of through the student union and through trips and things like that, which may even be part of your studies. These are the basic details. Once again, I think money is a question that everyone asks. These are the fees. I've tried to translate things into COP. Andres has been very helpful and ensuring that I have all the right number of zeros so that I don't make any mistakes there. There are lots of different kinds of scholarships you can apply for. But basically, what I'm also trying to say is that I understand. I'm originally from India, and I understand that these numbers are not small numbers. They are rather big numbers, and it is expensive, which is why we offer scholarships and which is why we collaborate with COLFUTURO. So the happy collaboration that we have with COLFUTURO is built in such a way that if you apply for COLFUTURO and you do get funded by COLFUTURO, we offer you, two of you, a 25% reduction in your fees, which means that you only will end up actually paying 3 semesters worth of fees. And what does that actually look like? That would kind of look like this in a way. So if you get a 25% scholarship, instead of paying 32 million or 32.5 million, you would be paying 24 million per semester. So that 25% scholarship gets into your invoice at each semester. And then you're paying that reduced amount of money. And that reduced amount of money you can take from COLFUTURO. That will be the way it works. And as far as working is concerned, for that matter, you can work while studying, but it's very important that you manage your time wisely, because if you manage to do something where you end up not getting good grades, what's the point? You'll probably lose COLFUTURO, you'll probably lose the 25% that we are offering you, and you may not get your job, the full-time job that you're looking for at the end of your studies. So it's important for you to consider, how am I managing my energy and how am I managing my time? Because what I am here for is to study. That is my main aim. So I'm going to try and spend as much of my time and energy on that main task, and then think about the smaller things that I could be doing, like, for example, working part-time. So this is a rough breakdown, by the way. This doesn't have to look exactly like this for you. You might have a smaller amount in terms of groceries or a larger amount in terms of a gym membership. That is entirely your lifestyle choice. But this is generally how it could look. What happens after studies? Well, after studies, we get Andres. That's what we get, right? Like, so after studies, you can apply for 12 months to stay back, for a 12-month stay back visa, which allows you to find a job if you have not already found a job. And one thing that I want to tell you is that a lot of students find a job even before they graduate. Now, I don't know how it was in your case. Yeah, so you had a job just as you graduated, or just before you graduated, you already had a job.
Yeah, after I finished my master thesis, they hired me in that same company.
Exactly, and this is exactly how it normally works. Students will do a master's thesis at a company, and that company generally hires you, because they've now seen you for at least 6 months and they've seen that you do a good job. So what's the point in hiring somebody they don't know, rather than they know you, so they would hire you. So this kind of is how it works. It doesn't have to be the case in your case. Once again, I want to make sure that I'm giving you a realistic picture here. It is possible that you are a great student, you've done a great job, you've studied well, you've done an excellent thesis, but that company is not able to hire you. It is possible that that can happen. And in that case, once again, you can apply for a 12-month stay back period. You can find a job. 100% of our students find a job within 1 to 1.5 years of their graduation. So, or I would say 99 point whatever, right? Like, I don't want to give you the 100% number just because it doesn't sound right to me. But those 12 months can also be used to start a company of your own. We offer you support. If you have a deep tech idea, we have our own business incubator that can help you start your own company. We also employ you as PhD students. So if you want to do a PhD, that is a job. You will be employed by the university. You will get a salary, which will be actually on par with an engineer's salary. So you should be making approximately 3,000 euros per month. I do not know what that is in COP, but about 30,000 Swedish crowns per month is what you will be making before taxes, and about 20,000 in your hands anyway. So you'll be well set. I mean, if you think in terms of like your monthly expenses is approximately 8,000 or 10,000 crowns, and you get about 20,000 in your hands, that's 50% more than you actually need to use, right? Oh, sorry, that's about 100% more than you actually need to use. So if you want to get in touch with us, you can simply scan this code. You can also go to the short link, chalmers.se/masters-chat. If you go there, you will meet people that are perhaps Colombian, and you can chat with them. There's a guy called Jaime who is right now a student ambassador and can chat with you if you're interested in learning a little more about how it is to study at Chalmers, how it is to live in Gothenburg and in Sweden. He can talk to you about his experience. And that brings me to the end of our presentation, and I want to now invite Andres to introduce himself and perhaps tell us a little bit of your story, like how you found Chalmers and why you chose to come to us.
Okay, perfect. So my name is Andres Santos. I am from Medellin. I am 34 years old. I came into Chalmers through a lot of factors, let's say. First of all, my plan was to study in Europe my master, right? At least that was the overview of it. Then I basically started looking in different countries, and particularly speaking, I get into Sweden because one of my friends lives in Norway, and he was basically telling me about the positive and also the great facts about the Nordic countries, and especially as I'm a mechanical engineer. Sweden is a very I would say among the Nordics is on the top of the technology in general, especially for mechanical engineer, at least in that niche. As Avila said, Volvo has their headquarters here. So technically speaking, Gothenburg is an automotive hub. So that's also something that attracted me because my previous work experience was in truck fleets as a maintenance engineer. So yeah, I would say plenty factors just convert into coming into Sweden and also to Gothenburg. That's basically it in a very short way.
But you also had COLFUTURO with you.
Yes, exactly. Thank you for guiding me. I'm a bit spread. Anyway, so yes, when I was looking for options, I basically chose 4 countries in general. My first option was also Chalmers, related to what I told you before. So I started looking for the strategy to come because, as Avila said, the costs are quite high in general, at least for the living standards that we have in Colombia. So I was looking, of course, of mechanisms, let's say scholarships, to fund myself or to fund my journey and also my studies here. And I came up with COLFUTURO, and basically, yes, I just basically checked all the possibilities. I will just show you an overview of them. I applied to all of them. Okay.
Yeah, you can continue.
Okay,
just continue.
So yes, I just mapped all the scholarships and also all the universities. So I had to prepare all the documentation first. So you have to be very careful in that regard because, as Avila said, 3 months usually is very tight. because you have to find, you have to get the documents first. You have to get the translators to translate the documents as well. Then you have to prepare all the documents, and also you have to apply to COLFUTURO, so you have to check all the university rankings. So yeah, it's better to start ASAP, let's say. And yes, I just applied to COLFUTURO, and I got the tuition waiver and also the support. I am still, let's say, in the loan scholarship scheme. I already started paying, actually. It was, I think, 2 months ago, because you have, I mean, maybe it's not my point to say, but you have one period of, let's say, waiting time, let's say, so you don't have to start paying immediately. So that helps a lot, because meanwhile you can get a job, and of course improve your finance, because of course you will be living as a student budget, so it will be pretty limited. So you have to, of course, be careful with your expenses as well. So, but yeah, I think it's pretty comfortable. I mean, I have to be honest, I was worried in that transition period, but everything worked out in the proper way. And to be honest, I am living in a very, very comfortable way. When I look back into that time that I was very worried about the transition time, yeah, if you play your cards accordingly and properly, as Avila said, it can work, and it works very well. At least in my experience, I'm very happy here in Sweden. I would say the experience has been rewarding in all regards. And one thing that I really like about Chalmers is that you find people from every part of the world. You have the opportunity to learn about cultures, languages, and also, yeah, I think it's a very nice opportunity, and I would say you should consider this. I think it's a life-changing opportunity, but of course, it's a big, let's say, sacrifice, because you have to invest 2 years of time studying, and also you have to prepare, financially speaking, just to pay back the loan in the case that you want to be here, or to remain here in Europe, or go back. But yeah, it's something that you have to think very, very well, and yeah, prepare it accordingly. That's basically what I would say.
Perfect. Thanks. By the way, Andres, feel free to speak Spanish. I mean, you don't have to, just because I'm here, you don't have to hold yourself back, because I know that you can express yourself better in Spanish.
Yeah, you're right.
But if you do need to, you're more than welcome to.
Maybe I can do it with the Q&A.
Yeah, sure. But the question right now is whether Karen is going to...
Well, Avalesh, thank you so much for this interesting presentation. All the information is so valuable for us. Y Andrés, también muchas gracias. Contar con tu experiencia en estos espacios para nosotros también es muy enriquecedor, porque nos da un acercamiento muchísimo más próximo, obviamente, con la experiencia real que se vive allí. Entonces, bueno, tenemos algunas preguntas para ustedes. Avalesh, we have some questions for you. So, well, the first question is from Stephanie, and she says, Chalmers offers some kind of hosting or housing?
Housing. Yeah, so that's what I was speaking of in terms of like guaranteed housing, right? In your case, for example, you must have gotten an apartment through Chalmers.
Yes, I did.
Exactly. And so the way that works is you made an application once again, right? And then in March, you found out that you got admitted. And then in April, you got yourself that kind of invoice that you needed to pay the tuition fees. And the moment you got the fees paid, then you get an email about housing. And so once the fees has been paid, you get an email about housing that says, hey, you have this contract. That could be one email that you get. Or the other email could be, make an application for an apartment over here. So in one or the other case, you are guaranteed one offer of housing. And what that implies is usually a form of housing, which could be one of many types. So either you have your own room, and that room has a kitchen or a kitchenette, actually. So it's a built into the wall type of kitchen with a bathroom and a toilet and things like that. It could also be a case where you're sharing parts of this. So you could be sharing a kitchen, you could be sharing the bathroom and the toilet, or even sharing both. But your room is always your room. There will always be a lock and a door that you will always be able to use. So privacy is always guaranteed. You're not going to be sharing that space with anyone unless you choose to do so. So you are going to get an apartment of your own. That is how this normally works, right? Anything that you'd like to add, Andres?
No, I would say that covers everything.
Yeah. So, okay, the food is not included. What is included in the room is usually like a bed. I think like says usually there's basic furniture in a room, like a table, a chair, and a bed frame. There may or may not be a mattress. So you may need to buy a mattress. The first thing you arrive is probably the first thing you will do after you arrive is going to IKEA. So you'll start off with a Swedish experience, going to IKEA and getting yourself a mattress.
Something else, the router is not provided, so you have to go to IKEA, then to the comms store as well.
Right. So you'll go to an electronic store and bring a router with you. So my recommendation to anybody that's going to be traveling to Sweden, try and arrive during the daytime and on a working day. Right, arrive early on a working day so you can go to IKEA, go to the housing company, grab your keys, go to IKEA, get yourself a mattress and a router, and now you're
Perfect. Thank you so much, Abhilash. Well, we have some questions from Luis, and he asked, it's possible to work meanwhile I am studying, and is there a limit to the number of hours?
Yes, there is. Sorry, no, there is no limit, and yes, it is possible to work. So once again, like I said in that slide about part-time work, it is very important that you manage your time and energy. It is paramount that you do so, because if you make the mistake of thinking, yeah, I'll manage, I can have two part-time jobs, I can deliver food and then write code for this company, and then I'll do my assignments and then go to the lectures tomorrow and be fresh and ready, you might be in for a surprise. So it's good if you manage your time and energy, and be careful about which thing you give priority to. So we don't have a limit, and that means that we think you are smart enough to know where the limit goes.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Well, yeah. If I want to travel with my wife, it is possible. University or government offers some help about that?
Well, the university doesn't offer you any help, and I do not know what kind of help the government might offer. You're more than welcome to travel with your wife. Normally, what happens is if your wife is traveling with you, or your partner for that matter, so if this applies to anybody else, if your partner is traveling with you, they would travel with you on what is known as a dependent permit. If that is the case, then you, as the primary residence permit holder, you will have to show that you have the amount of money that is required to take care of a partner as well. So these are usually, so there's not many people that come to Sweden or to Chalmers. There are not many students at Chalmers that travel to Chalmers with their partners, right? So this is a very uncommon case for us. So we don't really have a lot of experience or knowledge in this matter. However, what I do know from personal experience, as in like talking to students who have this kind of situation, I understand that your partner can travel with you on what is called a dependent visa or a dependent permit, but you as the primary person need to show finances for that person. So that means that your bank account needs to include the amount of money required for this person. And that allows this person to work. So that permit that they are coming here on allows them to work, is what I understand. I could be wrong. I don't work at the Swedish Migration Agency, so please don't take my word as fact. Please look up the information on the Swedish Migration Agency's website to be sure of what applies and what doesn't apply.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Well, we have a question for Andrés. So, bueno, Andrés, ¿cuál es la mayor diferencia entre los sistemas educativos de Colombia y Suecia en este caso? ¿Algún consejo que creas que debamos tener en consideración si queremos viajar allí?
Ok. La diferencia más relevante que al menos en mi experiencia, digamos que encontré, pues, es el sistema sueco es un poquito más libre. No es, digamos, tan voy a usar impositivo, pero no es la mejor palabra, no es tan estricto como el colombiano. Somos un poquito más libres al escoger programas, al escoger cursos, al escoger materias. Lo que eso implica es que vos puedes escoger las materias que quieras siempre y cuando estén, digamos, validadas por el programa que seleccionaste, pero tenés que ser muy cuidadoso con los prerequisitos. Por ejemplo, yo estoy en la nacional y para, no sé, en caso específico de ingeniería, para cursar cálculo integral tenía que haber ya, digamos, aprobado cálculo diferencial, ¿sí? Pero en este caso, aquí vos podrías coger las dos sin ningún problema, pero es tu responsabilidad pasarlas. Entonces, eso es bien importante que lo tengan presente. Voy a estar muy pendiente de los prerequisitos, porque incluso a mí me sucedió algo parecido. Yo escogí, como yo les conté, yo soy ingeniero mecánico. Cuando llegué acá no tenía la mayor experiencia, digamos, en robótica y tomé un curso muy interesante, pero muy demandante, que tenía varios requisitos de programación que en ese momento yo no tenía. Entonces, afortunadamente lo pasé, pero no fue el mejor viaje, pues, por decirlo de alguna manera. Entonces es importante que eso lo tengan presente. Eh, ¿Qué más les podría decir? Otra cosa es que en términos de calificaciones, eh, los requisitos son relativamente, no voy a decir bajos, son más bien curiosos. Por ejemplo, si lo vamos a comparar en un sistema convencional, o en el sistema de nosotros, sería de 4 a 5 es sobresaliente, de 3 a 4 es aceptable y bueno, y 3 es ya, digamos, pues, reprobado, ¿cierto? Aquí es un poquito diferente porque digamos que vos llegas al 5 o a la calificación máxima si estás entre el 80 y el 100%. O sea, vos sacas 5, si en el caso de nosotros sacaras entre 4 o 5. Más o menos funciona de esa manera. Entonces es otra cosa importante. Otra cosa muy bacana, y eso depende pues también de qué tan ambicioso seas ¿cómo decirlo? Con las notas. Yo en ese caso lo fui. Vos aquí puedes repetir, digamos, los exámenes finales. Eh, bueno, eso es otro tema que no expliqué bien, que sí es bueno que lo toquemos. Y es, voy a volver y ya termino esa parte como para dejarlo claro. Normalmente en el sistema europeo, vos en la gran mayoría de cursos solamente haces un examen o un final, pues no tenés parciales, que es lo común que tenemos nosotros, o de pronto entregas. Si hay algunos cursos o materias que tienen solamente, bueno, no tareas, trabajos, digámoslo de esa manera pero la gran mayoría solo tienen un examen final y obviamente pues no estamos acostumbrados a eso en nuestro sistema, o al menos cuando yo estudié en mi momento, pues no me tocó algo así, eran simplemente 3 o 2 parciales. Entonces eso es importante porque normalmente nosotros venimos con un ritmo de estudio de que, no sé, estudiamos una semana y media antes de un parcial y eso era suficiente. Aquí para un examen de esos, y más que se te van a juntar todos los que viste en el periodo de estudio. Entonces, claro, si no sos cuidadoso, te va a tocar repetirlos. Ahora volviendo al punto, esa es la ventaja, o sea, vos podés repetir los exámenes y eso no te va a bloquear. Como yo les mencioné, no tenés el problema de los prerequisitos. Al no tener el problema de los prerequisitos, incluso si perdés la materia, que ojalá no pase, pero puede pasar, podrías repetir el examen el otro semestre y no te vas a atrasar. Eso solamente aplica para los cursos que son con exámenes. Los cursos que son con tareas o trabajos, si bueno, si reprobas, sí te toca repetir el curso completo. Pero obviamente es bien particular dependiendo del caso. Estoy hablando, digamos, de la experiencia que tuve y como decía Ávila, pues también hay cosas que no puedo jurar en piedra, pues, pero más o menos funciona así.
Súper, muchas gracias Andrés por esta respuesta muy valiosa. Y tenemos por aquí otra pregunta también para ti y es, ¿qué tan difícil fue conseguir hospedaje? ¿Dónde quedarte allí? Y también, ¿qué recomendaciones le darías a las personas que planean irse a estudiar en este país? De pronto que busquen con tanto tiempo de anticipación, algunos lugares más prácticos para hacer esta búsqueda.
Ok. Bueno, es relativamente fácil siempre y cuando apliques como un estudiante que no pertenece a la Unión Europea. Por ejemplo, puede que algunos de los que estén en este evento tengan de pronto nacionalidad de algún país europeo, ¿sí? Eso tiene sus pros y sus contras. O sea, el pro, que es bastante fuerte, bueno, diría yo, es que si tenés nacionalidad europea, no pagas tuition, no pagas matrícula. Entonces, obviamente, pues te ahorras un montón de plata y eso ayuda mucho. Pero tenés que que eso es desafortunadamente una realidad, y es conseguir vivienda aquí por fuera, digamos, de los cánones convencionales o del soporte que Chalmers da, es bastante difícil. Pero si vos vas a pagar tuition, con seguridad tenés una oferta. Eso sí, la oferta puede que no sea la que vos querás. O sea, no es digamos que yo quiero un apartamento con cocineta, con escritorio y con baño propio. No, a vos te dan una oferta a partir del pool que tengan o de la disponibilidad que tengan, ¿cierto? Entonces, vos elegís si la tomás o no la tomás. Si no la tomás, ya tenés que irte, no a ir infierno, pero cerquita de conseguir vivienda porque es difícil. Es bastante, ese es uno de los problemas más particulares que tienen los suecos en general. Entonces, o sea, yo no quiero que lo tomen a mal, pero es algo pues, que tienen que tener presente. Si llegan, digamos, a no tomar la posibilidad que les da Chalmers de vivienda, tienen que anticiparse. Porque hay otro punto, y es que aquí a los suecos les gusta mucho hacer fila. Lo adoran. Eso es impresionante. Vos haces fila para todo, incluyendo vivienda. Entonces vos tenés que, ¿cómo decirte? Registrarte en los sistemas, digamos, como más, sí, como más, ¿cómo decirlo? Convenientes en términos económicos, porque vos puedes arrendar por fuera de esos sistemas, pero te va a salir mucho más costoso. Entonces los sistemas que son, digamos, como más financieramente viables, tienen este sistema de fila, y este sistema de fila te puede, pues puedes quedarte hasta un año o incluso más en lista de espera, ¿no? Es una cosa complicada. Entonces, yo les recomiendo que si van a aplicar como ciudadanos no europeos, tomen la oferta de Chalmers, y después, ya con el tiempo, si ese no les gusta, ya pueden haberse inscrito en el sistema y pueden empezar a buscar. Esa sería mi recomendación, como para que no tengan, porque obviamente tienen que lidiar con muchas cosas, obviamente pues, con que están lejos de casa, y obviamente muchas cosas les van a hacer falta: su familia, sus amigos, su cultura, incluso las personas, son detalles pequeñitos, pues, pero incluso las personas que te hablan en el bus las vas a extrañar, porque eso aquí no pasa. Son detalles pequeñitos, pues, pero bueno, eso es más o menos lo que les quería decir.
Súper, Andrés, muchísimas gracias. Bueno, ahora por aquí, Juan, bueno, nos pregunta si desde Colfuturo se pueden aplicar a diferentes programas. Yo te respondo por nuestra parte, Juan, no es posible. A Colfuturo solo te puedes postular con un programa de posgrado. Sin embargo, preguntémosle a Avilash a ver si es posible que directamente con Chalmers se pueda postular a diferentes. Entonces, Avilash, Juan is asking if it's possible to apply to different programs in Chalmers University at the same time.
Yes. So in that application that you would make, so when you come to the Chalmers website and you've checked all the programs, you can choose up to 4 programs. So one application can be for up to 4 programs, and the cost for that application was what I was showing as, what was that? I think it was 3 point something something, if I remember correctly. But yeah, so it is definitely possible. It was there we go, 365,500 pesos, right? So that was the fees that you're paying. That's 900 Swedish crowns. One fee that you pay for one application. In that application, you can choose up to 4 programs. And those 4 programs can be from Chalmers. They can also be a combination of other universities. So it could be one from each university and 4 universities then. That's up to you. What is important about choosing multiple programs is that you put them in an order of priority. Which program do you want to study the most? That has to go first. Which is the most interesting program? That is first. Which is the least interesting program? That is the last. Right? And you should place it in that order, because that is the order in which you are evaluated. So if you get evaluated for the first one and you get accepted, then 2, 3, and 4, poof, they're gone. Only if one says no to you, then only can 2 check. If one says yes, then 2 cannot check. So you have to put this in an order of priority that is based on your interest. Don't think in terms of, if I don't get 1, then I will get 2. So I'll put the 1 in the 2, and you try to game the system, and then the system games you. So don't game the system.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Well, Kenny is asking now, does the university offer any assistantship, like teaching assistant or researching assistant, for a master in science?
So there is, I think I want to understand what Kenny means by offer, because the word offer in English for me means, Kenny, come here, here you go, right? That does not exist at Chalmers, right?
Oh.
That doesn't exist in Sweden. Nobody's going to call you and give you, yeah, you have to go, you have to ask for it, you have to work on this attitude of, I go for the opportunities that I want.
Yeah, actually, I got my part-time job doing that. I mean, I went to one of my professors. I told him that I needed to work. I wanted to work. So with his network, he managed to get me a part-time job in Sensiac, which is a spin-off from Volvo that works with autonomous systems. And I worked there for a part-time job, but that's how it works. You have to go and search it. Nobody's going to tell you, come on, no, that's not going to happen, no.
And also there is no offer in the sense of, we don't have a list of teaching assistants positionships or positions or research assistant positions that we are advertising and saying, hey, look at this, you can apply here. We are not doing that either. Sometimes we do, but that is not a common practice. So the offer doesn't exist in any explicit manner. It is a question of, do you want it? Then go get it, so to speak, right? So they exist. These kinds of positions exist. They exist because you can ask for them. If you don't ask for them, they won't come into existence. So you are the one that creates them in some way, actually.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And the last question that we have is, do you require a motivational letter or essay in the admission process?
Absolutely. A motivation letter is, well, let's put it like this. Absolutely, if you are looking for a scholarship. So if you're not looking for a scholarship from Chalmers, then you don't need to submit a motivation letter. But if you are looking for a scholarship, then you have to submit a motivation letter. So the motivation letter is one of those. There are a few documents. If you go to the website that is called chalmers.se/documentation, you will find a list of documents. I think about 11 documents that you can submit as part of your application. And amongst those documents, you will find some that are always mandatory, some that are always optional, and some that are conditionally optional. Motivation letter is a conditionally optional document. So the condition is, are you applying for a scholarship?
Okay, that's perfect. And in order to this, in the case that some students have to present a motivational letter or essay, could you give us some advice regarding to this? Maybe what type of criteria do you have and take into account?
Absolutely. The motivation, so this information actually is very clearly described on the website, because we get this question a lot. That part actually says, do this, do this, do this, don't do this. And so I'm literally going to tell you what is there on the website, which is basically we don't need to know your history, right? So the personal section of your letter doesn't have to be so big. A couple of sentences is more than enough. Why? Because you are submitting a CV, which is a mandatory document. That document is obligatory. So you've already told us your history through the CV, paragraph about your history. So that the biographical section can be very, very small. The rest of your letter, it is best if you can keep it concrete and concise and focused, right? And what I mean by those three words is this. Identify the answers to the questions. Why am I choosing this program? What am I going to do with the knowledge that I gain from this program? What problem do I see in the world that I wish to solve? And if I can connect these three questions in a way that it becomes a letter, we have a motivation letter. The question is not whether you are motivated. The question is, what motivates you? So, and that the answer to the question of what motivates you actually comes from answering the question, why am I choosing this program, which is connected to which problem am I solving? What do I want to do with the program that I have studied, which is connected to the problem I'm solving? So I need to know what problem I'm solving in the world. So if you can put those three things.
Well, that's awesome. Thank you so much, Abelash and Andres. This was a so productive session, and you solved all the questions that we had. So we look forward to staying in touch with you and to continue offering all these resources to our students. So thank you so much, and have a nice day. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Abelash.
Thank you to yourself as well, and thank you to COLFUTURO for having us at this moment. Thank you very much.
Okay, hope to see you in the next opportunity. Gracias, Andrés, que estés muy bien y muchos éxitos.
Mucho gusto.
Hasta luego para todos, que estén muy bien.